You're listening to Vancouver Canadians Game Day, powered by Booster Juice.
High drive. Deep to left. That one's not coming back. Oh, see that.
Here's your host, Rob Fai.
You know, the other day we had Tim Raines here, and a lot of people said that it was overdue. It was overdue that Tim Raines, one of the great leadoff hitters in the game of baseball, should have been in the Hall of Fame sooner. You know what, man? Here's the problem that I face with this. And again, I'm not trying to pick all the negative things here, but the one thing that I can say is it took Tim Raines 10 years to get in. In 4 of those years, it didn't matter what he did because, A, there was a guy at top of him that was going to get in and get the votes anyway, i.e. Ken Griffey Jr. But, you know what? I don't know. Tim Raines, is he a Hall of Famer? Absolutely. Unequivocally. But to say that it was long overdue, I don't know if you can say that. I don't know if you're going to get in, you're going to get in, and if you're not going to get in, you're not going to get in. And I think that's the way it is. And too often we use phrases like greatest catch ever or, had to be in the Hall of Fame. And you just see some of the guys that don't get into Cooperstown, like a Mark Grace, for example. And, there's certain guys like Fred McGriff that are not going to get in at all. You know what? If it took me 10 years, but I knew and I hoped and I then did get in, it wasn't long overdue. It was meant to be. What do you think? You can hit me up on Twitter at Rob Fai Nation. Would love to hear from you. ROB, F as in Frank, AI, Nation. Let me know. Does it matter if it's your first try, your 5th try, or your 10th try, so long as you get in? I mean, is Adrian Beltre a first ballot Hall of Famer now that he's got his 3,000th hit? I mean, he got it back on July the 30th. But, of course, he's now in, and everybody says that he's going to be a Hall of Famer. But, again, what if he doesn't get in on the first 3? Was it long overdue? Somebody took issue with me with something that I haven't even talked about it for months. They said that I was completely out of my mind for thinking that Derek Jeter might be the first unanimous Hall of Fame vote ever in Cooperstown history. I'm not sure about this. I might have to go into the bullpen. A guy that has been very good to me over the years, that knows his baseball as good as anybody, I'm going to pull him into this conversation. I wanted to bring my ace in the deck, KP Wee, into this conversation because I think I'm fair to do this. And KP, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here. I'm going to get you all set up. But there is nobody that I trust more when it comes to this kind of stuff than KP. So KP, first of all, good afternoon.
Thanks for having me on, Rob.
I'm going to bring that a little closer to you. We're good. Derek Jeter, unanimous vote into the Hall of Fame?
No, there's no such thing as a unanimous vote, and we've never seen it happen before. I agree with the concept that, yes, he should unanimously be voted into the Hall of Fame, but since there's never been a unanimous player voted in, I'm going to say there will never be someone getting 100% of the vote.
This is why I have to ask, because, of course, everybody said Ken Griffey, what did he miss? Just on 3 ballots, which is asinine to me because, never got caught up in any of the stuff, never got dragged through the mud, and then put up Hall of Fame numbers and did it at a pretty young age. But again, he played a lot of the times in Seattle, in Cincinnati, not big major markets. Derek Jeter played in New York, and in all of his years never came up on the wrong side of a newspaper report, put up all the numbers in all the right categories, and was the captain of the Yankees.
That's true, and also in the World Series or in the postseason, every time there's a clutch moment, he always seemed to deliver, whether it's a home run to tie the game or if it's a base hit to knock in a couple of runners. He seems to always have this, clutch ability to just drive runners in the biggest moments in the World Series or in the playoffs. And I agree, in a big stage like that, again, there's going to be 1 or 2 or however many voters that will have this idea that there's never been a guy that was voted in, unanimously. Not Babe Ruth, not Lou Gehrig, not Joe DiMaggio. So why should Jeter be the first guy?
But nobody really knows who they're voting for with their ballots, right? It's allegedly secret, but I'm sure that people talk. I would say that if you don't put Jeter on your ballot, you should have your ballot revoked. The Baseball Writers Association of America should take your vote away.
Well, again, it's a matter of everyone has a choice to
But how can you not put Derek Jeter? Not to put you on the spot. How could you not say that he's a guy that you can fit on your ballot?
I mean, there are guys out there who will say, okay, I'm not going to vote for anybody that has anything to do with the quote unquote the steroid era. That there are writers who will never vote players who played in that period of time in baseball. So
even if they weren't connected on any level.
That's right. Yeah, there are writers who will do that. That they'll say, okay, this guy played in this era. I'm not voting anybody from that era in, and that's fair enough. That's again their choice. I mean, they have the credentials of being a voter. That's fair. That if that's their logic, that if that's their reasoning. That's fine. It just those writers just won't vote anybody from that era in. Period.
If you had a vote,
I'd vote.
But would you stick to that concept that you would actually pick a period of darkness and say, forget it, I'm not voting anybody in?
No. Personally, I wouldn't do that. And personally, I don't believe in this quote-unquote first ballot Hall of Famer or second ballot Hall of Famer. You're either a Hall of Famer or you're not, period. I mean, but again, there will be guys who will make that argument, oh, this guy's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. He doesn't deserve to go in on the first try. There will be people like that. As far as Jeter is concerned, I can tell you, unless you poll all the writers, but again, there will be guys out there who will say, okay, I'm not voting for anybody who played in this era, or I'm not voting for him for whatever reason. There's never been a unanimous vote or a player that got in with 100% vote. So I don't think we'll see that happen.
Who's the most overrated player in baseball right now? Or a guy that you think is overrated, not named Doug Fister? Like, who do you think is a guy that gets a lot of grease, that gets a lot of love, but maybe shouldn't get it?
I'm going to say Trout. I mean, where is his team right now? Well, in the thick of things, in the playoff hunt, but again, he's a superstar in the American League, but how many times has he been to the playoffs? A couple of times? How many at-bats has he had in postseason play? 13 or something? Well, I could look up the numbers, but he's like an MVP candidate every season, but his team
stinks.
Exactly, yeah. Shouldn't you, if you're an MVP or the best player in the league, shouldn't you elevate the level of play of the rest of the team?
I think so. I think that's actually a fair argument. So right now, if you had one draft pick, it's $1 million question. Everybody's asking it. Who do you take in baseball right now? If you had one, would you take Giancarlo Stanton? Would you take a guy like Mike Trout? Would you take a guy like Bryce Harper? Would you go to a pitcher? I mean, where would you build if you were a GM of a team and you had your shot at anybody? And again, don't worry, I'm putting you on the spot. I'm not expecting an analytical sabermetrics answer just off the top of your head. Who's your guy?
Well, I wouldn't take a pitcher, first of all, because pitchers, they could break down. They could have an MVP type season, this year, but their arm could, blow up, the next year. So I would never pick a pitcher. I'll never pick a closer. I would pick an everyday player. Right now, Stanton is looking like he's for real. I might pick him, or Bryant with the Cubs.
Ooh, nice.
One of those guys.
He's kind of cooled off, Chris Bryant?
Yeah, I mean, you've got your ups and downs, and perhaps he's gonna pick it up in the playoffs. You never know, but he's a guy that you could build around. But again, I would pick a regular player, not to discriminate against pitchers. It's just that there's a risk taking one of those guys and having to build your team around.
By the way, I want you to discriminate. I want you to be overly assertive. Now, here's the thing that I said the other day, and you're more than welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. I said if the Cubs got into the playoffs, as mediocre as their season's been, and they should, they're 69-60 in a division that doesn't have a lot going for it. Could they be a dark horse still? I mean, they're a very good baseball team.
I would say so. I mean, they've got the horses. They've got Lester. They've got Arrieta. I mean, Lackey's had a bad season. Actually, so has Lester. But hey, come playoff time, those guys have experience. They know what it takes to be successful in October. I wouldn't count them out. I mean, they got past the Washington Nationals, which looks like that's a first-round matchup. I would say they would. They can match up pretty well against the Dodgers. I mean, when you get to the playoffs, you're facing the best teams, you're facing the best pitching. The Dodgers have had a great season, obviously, but we get into like a best of 5, a best of 7. Anything's possible, and I would take the Cubs experience just because they won it all last year, and with Lester and Arrieta at top of your rotation, they'll be a pretty hard team. They'll be a pretty hard team to beat.
Love it. KP, good stuff, man. I pulled you out of the bullpen. The phone rang. I gave you 2 pitches to get ready. You come in and you make sure you slam it down. We'll take a break. KP Wee joins us. By the way, when's the book coming out?
I am just finalizing a few details with a publisher, and we'll keep you posted. But thanks, Rob, for having me on, and look forward to the next opportunity.
It will probably be sooner than you think. KP Wee joining us here on TSN Radio. We will take a break. When we come back, our final segment. We'll get into lineups, anthems, all that stuff, the pomp and circumstance, and on the other side of the break, the Canadians, and of course the Boise Hawks, right here on TSN 1040.